This is 3 at 3. Going to start it up right now. Bang, 3 p.m. Eastern, right? All right, let's do it. So 3 at 3, folks, is where we identify for you unusual option activity. And we define that, of course, as blocks of options that are accumulated, whether they're all in one block or whether they spread them out in what we call sweeper trades. So if we see sweeping where, for instance, somebody is just going through and whoosh, buying a whole bunch of calls multiple different times, could be 50 lots, could be 10 lots, could be 500 lots. Every once in a while, we see a very large trade as one block. But more often than not, we see this kind of sweeping activity where we see 200, 200, 300, 300, that sort of stuff. I'll show you a little bit of that in a second. Let's get started with 3 at 3. If you're new to options trading and you're just seeing for the first time, wow, when these guys talk about something, it really moves, and you'd like to trade some options, well, a great place to learn about that is MarketRebellion.com. That's the firm my brother Pete and I co-founded years ago. This firm can teach you about stock, options, futures, even cryptocurrency trading. If you go to MarketRebellion.com/get started, you can read all about it. And I think you'd be wise to do that. So let's get started. First part is that the disclaimer, as always, says this is for education and informational purposes only. Full stop, right there. Now let's take a look at Cloudera, because I spoke about this one on the halftime report. But as you can see on this timestamp to the far left, we hit our blog with this information for CLDR, Cloudera, at about 10:05 this morning. So as we did that, we noted that 8,000 June 10 calls had been purchased for 35 cents, which, as every option is 400 shares of stock, would mean $35. And they bought them from that level all the way up to 65 cents. So stock was $10.17 when they did that. Then they bought the 1050 calls. Then they bought the 11 calls. Now, all of these calls give the buyer the right, but not the obligation, to take shares from somebody at that specific strike price. So in this example, they had the right to buy Cloudera at $10. How much did they pay for that? 65 cents. So let's look at how that plays out. Well, as it turns out, Cloudera had an awful lot of options trading today. I mean, look at that, folks. 32,000 of those June 10s, not 8,000. By the time we were getting ready to do this show, it was up to 32,000 of those calls had changed hands. And the June 1050 calls, 15,000 had changed hands. Those June 11 calls, 14,000 had changed hands. You get the idea. There's an awful lot of calls being bought in this name. And so I talked about it on the halftime report. And we said, hey, unusual activity, Cloudera, they are really piling into these calls, which usually means they think something good is about to happen. What would that good thing be? Well, as you see the red arrow there. Now, the other spike was when I spoke about it on TV. 23 minutes later, Cloudera jumped 20% to $12.13. As Bloomberg says, they were exploring a sale. And that's why people were so aggressively trading the stock and options of Cloudera. Now, as of that screenshot that you see there, the stock was $11.73, a pretty far cry from $10.17 when we cited it. Couple things you need to understand here. One, we cite a lot of activity throughout the day, probably 15 to 20 different amounts of unusual call activity or put activity every business day. Now, we never know if we're going to get on TV with one of these because sometimes the busyness of the news day causes us to get kicked, causes us to not be able to talk about it on TV. So at no time do we ever tell our subscribers, oh, I'm going to talk about this on TV. But if you're somebody who's in there and trading what we're posting, then you may or may not be in ahead of the folks that actually see it on TV. Well, that's just like Jim Cramer. That's just like virtually everybody that puts out a newsletter, talks about unusual activity, but doesn't say, by the way, I'm going to cover this on the halftime report. We never do that. You'll never see that. But take a look at how much this one moved, folks. It went from that $10.17 through $11.22. Some people on Twitter said, oh, that's the pump and dump, right, Doc? No, we follow the smart money. We don't establish it. We follow it. And then there's that 12:23 p.m. Central Time or 1:23 Eastern Time when that news broke. And there you see those three headlines about it. And the stock explodes to the upside. Miss a little, miss a lot. That, my friends, was a big bang for everybody that had those. How about this one? FireEye. Also in FireEye, believe it or not, people were saying, well, we cited this 11,000 contracts that were traded in the June 13s. I think all three of the stocks I cited today were in the June expiration, regular June expiration, which is not this Friday, the 12th, but next Friday, the 19th of June. So we cited this. We said, hey, they're buying these calls. They're paid 52 cents up to 84 cents. And again, since every option is for 100 shares of stock, that means that they paid from 52 cents up to 84 cents or $52, since every one is for 100 shares, up to $84, since every option is for 100 shares. So if they wanted to simulate a 1,000-share position, they would buy these calls for $84, and they'd buy 10 of them because every option is for 100 shares, and they would be at a 1,000-share equivalent that they could buy at the 13 strike. Now, where did that stock go? Well, spiked through 14, pulled back to 13.79, still a lot higher than 13.21. And what I'll point out for you is somebody actually reached out to me and said, hey, Doc, I don't see any institutional paper in there. I don't think that's really anything but just a bunch of Robinhood traders. Really? I guess these are all Robinhood-sized trades then. Since the average account at Robinhood is somewhere between $1,000 and $5,000, depending, how we ascertain exactly how active they might be in options, you might want to look at all those 466 lot, 434 lot, 274. Everything you see on that page is over 100 contracts. So, for instance, even though they're trading them between, let's say, 60 cents and $1.20 on that page, keep in mind that 60 cents is $60. 100 of those would be not $600, but $6,000. That would exhaust most people's account over there. Take it easy, Dexter. That would exhaust most people's full amount of their Robinhood account. And obviously, 466, probably not a Robinhood-sized trade either. Anyway, just wanted to point that out. Let's get to our first of the 3 at 3 today. Microsoft. Stock was $188.61 when we saw this hitting today. And we talked about, regular July? Nope. We were talking about July options, but not regular July, because these, see that 10 in front of the July? For us, that means the 10th of July expiration. So that is the expiration. So the regular expiration in July, by the way, is the third Friday, which would be July 17th. So we see a whole bunch of July expiration on the 10th calls going up at the 200 strike with the stock trading $188 a share. So as I check my little fill box here from my brokerage firm, I see that I bought these calls As you see, they traded from $1.67 to $2.05. I bought these calls for $2.01 and $1.97. Those were my fills. Now, look at this. So they paid $1.67, which is $167. 10 lot would be $1,600. For the right to control the stock, basically for about 3 weeks into the future at the 200 strike, which means they have the right to take it from whoever sold them those calls at 200. They have the right to take it because the owner of an option has rights. The seller of an option has obligations. So in this case, this one jumps to the upside, 8,000 of them. Again, 8,000 times $2, that's $1.6 million into a trade. Those are the people I want to follow. Where's the stock right now? Pushing through 190. Microsoft, thank you very much. Up almost 1% and up a decent amount from when we got in. Bang. Where are these calls? Let me tell you. Glad you asked. These calls right now that I bought, like I said, 197 to 201. Let's see, July 10th expiration. And these are the 200 strike. So those calls right now are trading $2.26. So it's already a winner. Up a little over 20 cents on average, maybe 25 cents on this trade for me. So, in other words, already profitable by 10% versus the stock where you'd have fractions of a percent gain and tie up a lot of money because 1,000 shares of Microsoft at 180, where it was 188.61, would have been $188,000 tied up. Instead, paying $2 for a 10 lot, that would be $2,000. Which would you rather put out there? Trade the way you want to, folks. Second of our 3 at 3 coming at you right now. That is Wells Fargo. So take a look at this one. Another big trade. August, though. Not June timeframe, August. They're buying the August 40 calls in WFC, Wells Fargo Corp. Stock was $32.21. Tony Dwyer said banks and tanks. That trade, my friend, in the month since Tony said it, has outperformed the S&P by 2x. In other words, JP Morgan, Capital One Financial, both up better than 20%, in this past month. S&P 500 was up 10% in the past month. So 2x the S&P 500. Great call, Tony. All right. 1.4 million share equivalent means that's what these 14,000 options represent. 1.4 million share equivalent. They paid basically 75 cents up to 85 cents. Let's not be nitpicky. Let's just say this is about $1 million trade. $1 million trade that the stock goes up almost $8 between now and August expiration. Now, that could happen. It could also just pop, and these options could pop from 75 cents to $1.50, whatever. And let's look at the downside. Always ask yourself, how much could I lose on a trade? Paid 75 cents, or let's say you paid 80 cents. I'll pick the middle. You paid 80 cents for this. I will cut my losses at 40 because that means I'm going to be a prudent money manager. If you have no discipline at all and you let it go to zero, I can't help you. But I would say that you would be a better investor if you learned how to cut your losses and let your profits run. So this one right now, those options to buy the stock at 40 with the stock at 32.21. Now the stock, by the way, those are August options. The stock, by the way, is at 32.88, so it's already 60 cents in our favor. And the 40 calls out in August are no longer trading for 70 cents or 80 cents. They are now trading at $1. So you're already up, let's call it a little over 20% if you're in at 80 cents. Bang! Another reason I love trading options. Let's go to our third and final of the 3 at 3 right now. Zscaler, ZS. Zscaler, This one, we've had a number of very accurate reads from the institutional paper that have gone in here. Stock was 104 when we saw this hit today. As you can see, it happened after the halftime report, 1:08 p.m. Central Time. We see them coming in here buying this week, expiration 110, 110 calls. Stock's only 104, so that's $6 out of the money. That's pretty bullish. Do you think it'll get there? Well, they paid from 90 cents up to $1.40. I joined them, except, and I'll explain this and why I did this, except I don't like buying a $6 out of the money call with basically 3 trading days left, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'd rather have something a little closer to the money. So what would a guy like John do in this case? Zscaler, let's see, we bought those June 105 calls. These June 105 calls didn't trade for 90 cents or $1.40. They were more expensive than that, more dear, if you will. They traded for, on the range today, $1.75 to $3.54, and right now are trading a little over $2. Where did I get in? Basically, $2.15 is where I got in, to the June 105s that expire this Friday. So I didn't just buy those, though. I sold the higher strike. So if you go into your app, wherever you're trading, you may see that the most active strike was indeed those 110s, where 17,000, double the number you see on your screen, have now traded. 17,000 of those June 110s. So like I say, I paid $2.15 for those June 105s, and I was able to sell the, here it is, sold the 107s and the 110s, sold the 110s for right here, 90 cents, and sold the 107s for, where's my fill on that one? Sold the 107s for basically $1.90. So believe it or not, putting on that trade, the 105 level, I have the right to take it. Somebody else can take it from me at 107. That's the first block. So that would mean that spread can only go to $2. The differential between 105 and 107 is $2. So by me buying the 105s and paying $2.15, selling the 107s at right around $2, that means I've got 15 cents, and I could turn that 15 cents into $2. That's $15 into $200 per spread. Per spread. Gotta like that. Now the other trade was, again, buying those 105s for $2.15 and selling the other 110s for 90 cents. So that spread can go to $5. And how much did I pay for it? In rough terms, $1.25. So for $125, and if it goes up, I could turn it into $500. $125 investment per spread could turn it into $500. So those are the trades that I'm in right now. You got to decide what's appropriate for you, how you want to trade. I like moving the odds in my favor as far as I can before I make that investment. I encourage you guys to do the same every day. Hey, thank you for joining me today, folks. I hope you enjoyed this. Let's see. If you'd like to learn more about Market Rebellion, you can go to marketrebellion.com/UOA. That is marketrebellion.com/UOA for unusual option activity. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have a great day. And make sure that you are careful wherever you are. And let's flatten the fear, shall we? Reopen America. That's what I'm talking about. Have a great one, everybody.